Welcome to day 25 of Let's Get Exam Ready. In today's video, we're going to look at the final question for paper 3. Here are the 3 possible questions for question 3. We're going to focus on the first one today, which is all about the topic of generalizability. Now, when we gathered quantitative data from experimental methods, we use the term generalizing. However, if the stimulus provided to you in paper 3 is a non-experimental method that has gathered qualitative data, then the word transferring is going to be used in this question instead of the word generalizing. They both mean the same thing, we just use different terms depending on the data that's being collected in the study. Question 3 is marked against an assessment criteria, and to score in the top mark band bracket, there are 4 key things to remember. Your response needs to be fully focused on the question, so no irrelevant information. The information in your response needs to be fully accurate. You need to discuss, and that means when you discuss, you have to look at both sides and consider both sides of an argument and to give a full review and a full discussion. And every point you make should be linked to the stimulus. When you're reading the stimulus, think about the topic of generalizability. As you're reading it, think about things that maybe are making the study difficult or easy to be able to apply the results to the target population. The target population is the population of people from which we drew our sample from. So let's say we have a group of IB Year 12 students and we select a sample from that target population of, let's say, 20 students, because we can't look at maybe the whole group of IB Year 12 students. So the sample is taken from the target population. And when we're thinking about generalizability, we're thinking about how possible is it that we can actually apply and generalize results to that target population. But you can also think about how possible is it to generalize the results past the target population. So maybe to DP1 students, not just DP2 students. And what about students maybe in even a different setting, like in a different school? And actually, what about students who are in year 10? Or what about higher education students in university? So we can think about the extent to which we can generalize to the target population and beyond. But this isn't a yes or no question. When you're asked to discuss something, you're being asked to give a review, and that means you'll need to look at both sides really, that yes, we might be able to generalize, and no, there are issues that maybe prevent us generalizing as well. To score well for this question, you want to have about 4 different points you can discuss. Now, here are 5 points taken from a mark scheme that had a stimulus of a quantitative study, and any of these 5 points would gain credit for this question. First of all, read the stimulus and think about the size of the sample to help you identify whether there's low or high statistical representation. Small sample gives us low statistical representation, and therefore that limits the possibility of being able to generalise or transfer the findings of the study. Increasing the sample size increases the statistical representation, and that increases the ability to generalise or transfer the findings. Sampling method used is another good point to discuss. Read the stimulus, identify the sampling method used. Did it allow a random sample to be obtained, or was the sample obtained a non-probability sample? So sampling methods like convenience sampling or self-selected volunteer sampling, they give us non-probability samples. And therefore, this has low generalizability or the possibility of transferring the findings. Ideally, random sampling is the best form of sampling method to use to allow us to increase the possibility of being able to generalize. The sampling method used can also result in what we call selection bias. So again, if we're asking participants to volunteer, then maybe we're going to get a particular type of student volunteering, and therefore my sample could be biased and not really representative of the target population. A way to overcome this in experiments is to randomly allocate the participants to conditions. So that would only be relevant if the study was an experiment and it was possible to do random allocation. So again, these points can only be applied in certain situations. Make sure you read the stimulus carefully and think which ones will be relevant. When you read the stimulus, look at the characteristics of the participants. Are they unique? Are they different to maybe the target population? Do the participants, for example, have really high IQ scores? Maybe that's not very representative of the target population. Are they from all one particular area of the country. And again, if the target population was a whole country, and if your sample of participants is only from one individual area, then the representation is low, and we would say the possibility of generalizing or transferring is also low. If there's support for the results, so if there has been replications of the study, and if we have similar findings, then this indicates some external validity of the findings, and that increases the likelihood of us being able to confidently generalize or transfer the findings to other populations. In tomorrow's video, we continue to look at paper 3 and look at the second possible question for question 3.